hope you all have signed in. Please remember to sign in before you leave today if you haven't already signed in. You can't hear me? I gotta speak up, okay. Mary always tells me I talk too loud, so.
In this building, it's just important to talk slowly, right? So we very much appreciate your presence here today on this picture-perfect, it's either late spring or early summer afternoon. And it does please me, as it always does, that so many of you take the institutions, the community's business seriously. It has often been remarked that, as a rule, Unitarian Universalists don't stand on ceremony, and that we are not very earnest about maintaining hallowed traditions, at least not so much as other religious folk. But one tradition that our churches have maintained over the centuries is the annual or semi-annual congregational meeting. However much our liturgies, the words of our hymns, the length of our sermons, the clergy dress code, our fellowship rituals, and our spiritual practices have changed over the decades, the method by which we make important decisions has remained pretty much the same. So today we walk in the footsteps of those New England Puritan forebears who established their congregational and Baptist communities according to the principle of congregational polity. And as we know, authority in these traditions, as in ours, begins at the bottom of the social pyramid, not at the top. So no matter how charismatic its preacher or how capable its president, members of the congregation always have and always will have the last word about who shall serve them and how the community's resources will be allocated. But for this democracy, or for any democracy to work in the way it should, members cannot take it for granted. They have to take it seriously, and above all, they have to pay attention to the issues at hand. And so, on this fine afternoon, I congratulate you on both counts. You are here because you take your responsibility as citizens of First Unitarian Society seriously, and because you are aware that there are going to be questions of a certain moment that need to be addressed and resolved this afternoon. One of our familiar hymns begins with the words, "Forward through the ages in unbroken line, come the faithful spirits at the call divine." By your presence here, like so many before you, you are the faithful, perhaps not responding to the call divine, but at least to the notice in the red floors. May we work well together for the greater good of us all.
Thank you, Michael. Oh, it worked. So first of all, I want to say thank you again. As Michael said, it's great to have you here. We really do rely on your input and help with making these decisions. It's one of the things that keeps us strong. We have some minutes from our last parish meeting. They were available out in the back. I don't know if anybody has any questions about them, but I'd like to get them approved if we can. Any questions? Yeah, I'm going to get a motion. Sure. You want to move? Do I hear Betsy Hauser moves that we accept the minutes? Do I have a second? Michael May accepts. By the way, if you make a motion and I don't say your name, please say it out loud so that Carol can get it in the minutes. She's asked me to be kind to her today. So, thank you. Any discussion? Hearing none, do I have anybody who would like to abstain? Anybody opposed? We carry unanimously. Thank you very much. I hope all the rest of our decisions are as easy as that one. I thought I would go over the agenda for us today. We're going to have meet our Building Innovator Grant folks from Social Justice in just a second. We're going to have a brief update from the Growth Task Force. Kelly Crocker is going to talk about our choices about the membership directory. We are going to vote on the members of the board and foundation that are new. We're going to then vote on our budget. And then we have a bylaws change that the board has recommended that we make that's relatively small. We'll have questions and feedback, and then some closing words from Michael. So, Becky, would you guys like to get up here and talk?
Hello. I am here, and Ian Shea is here, because we are really, really excited to announce that First Unitarian has been selected as one of 16 sites for the UUSC's new Justice Building Innovator Program. Yay! So before I explain what that is, I want to explain what it isn't. First of all, I want to say, because I realize this could be a major oops if I didn't, that this is not instead of all the awesome things we're already doing in social justice. And if you don't know all the awesome things we're already doing, these brochures exist like crazy in tables and slots all over the commons, and you can always just call me. So again, we're not ditching everything right now. No. The other thing is, though I know that many of you are very familiar with the work of the UUSC, folks also get all those letters confused. So I want to say that we have a UUA, that is the Unitarian Universalist Association, right? General Assembly, National Association of Congregations. The UUSC is not part of the UUA, okay? The UUSC is the Unitarian Universalist Service Committee, and this is an international organization that works for human rights around the world and does great things in innovation, grassroots collaboration, and measurable impact. So the UUSC just started the Justice Building Innovator Program to help congregations take a big leap forward in effectiveness in social justice work, and we're thrilled to be a site. Each site has its own project. For the next 18 months, with the help and guidance of the UUSC, our project is going to be taking an in-depth look at our social justice involvement with our local community as a whole, and evaluate it in terms of our impact on racial and economic equity. When you put it all together, what we do financially, with people influence, what we do with our building, what are we supporting, what are we lifting up, what are we changing, what are we simply reinforcing? We will use researched equity impact tools, and we will invite our community partners, our stakeholders, into the conversation. We know, and leaders in the community know, that FUS wants to build a city and a county that is racially and economically equitable, right? Does our impact match our intentions, is what we want to know. What could we be doing? Doing better, maybe doing differently. At each site, the work in this program is spearheaded by a Justice Building Innovator, a member, a volunteer just like you, working with a staff sponsor. Our Justice Building Innovator, our JBI, is Ian Shea, whom you'll meet in a minute. Ian, as part of this program, is part of a cohort of JBIs across the nation. They're getting mentoring, in-depth training on being a leader for transformative justice. So meanwhile, I'm Ian's JBI sponsor. Everyone has one, so I'm connected to the network across the nation of all the sponsors. And I have access to coaching and financial support for my part of the work. Ian and I are going to need a group to work with here at FUS. And we're going to keep a conversation going between what we're doing and the whole congregation over the next 18 months. I am very excited. I think this is an amazing opportunity to do big picture, intentional work and to reinforce and transform our relationships with our community partners. I'm going to hand the mic over to Ian, who's going to introduce himself and then be here for Q&A. I have a graduation to run to, sorry. But I want to say that if you want to jump in on this, you want to know what that would mean to be part of the group, you're interested in this or anything about social justice, just call me, okay? So here's Ian.
Good morning. I'm Ian Shea. I will be volunteering as the Justice Building Innovator, JBI. To tell you a little bit about me, I grew up in a Lutheran church and I had a bad breakup with Jesus. This was in large part because in spite of the message of loving your neighbor that I heard growing up, I didn't see my congregation loving our neighbors in any extraordinary sense. And so gradually, Christian faith stopped making sense to me. I bring this up because I've had to think a lot about what I do believe in. And part of what I've come to is that I believe it's important to make this world here and now a better place. And I believe it's a valuable pursuit to reduce suffering. Of course, turning these values into action is harder. I have tried a lot of things, participating in a student group, putting on conferences on social justice topics. I have attended anti-racism trainings, and I have participated in a learning circle on immigration issues, and all of this, I'm grateful for what I learned, but I've never felt satisfied that it's enough. I've never felt that all this awareness is liberating anyone except perhaps me. I've always felt like it's preparation for something else. I worked for a couple of years at an immigration law firm, translating documents, translating stories of families fleeing cartel violence, translating recommendation letters, trying to prove that someone is a good person, because in certain types of cases, you need to prove that you deserve the judge's discretion to stay with your family. As a citizen, I've never had to prove I'm a good person to stay with my family. And there too, I was frustrated that even though we were providing valuable relief, we were not doing anything truly transformational. That is why I am excited to get this training from the USC. I'm excited for this grant, and I'm excited to work with some of you to assess our social justice impact in the community, make sure that our values align with our work, and assess our partnerships, our decision-making process, and I'm going to need help with this project. So if you're interested in doing this, if you're interested in making sure that we truly are standing on the side of love, please contact Becky, our social justice coordinator, or contact me. And I'll be around later for questions and answers, Q&A. Thank you.
That really is exciting. Next, we're going to have Joe Kremer get up here and talk about the Growth Task Force.
Hello, everyone. How are you? It's an awesome day out, so thank you for being here. It's hard to get myself out of the garden and here as it was. Let me know if you can't hear as I'm talking, because I might move around a little bit. So I'm happy to report, after about a 9-month process, our Growth Task Force has put out a report. Looks a little bit like this. If it's in color, you can see our colors on it, but this is how the front page looks. We are planning to have this up on the website tomorrow. That's Monday. And if anyone is interested in downloading it, you go to the website, it's not there. Simply email us at growthtaskforce@gmail.com and we'll just send you a copy of it. We are just going to give a very quick overview here for about the next 5 or 10 minutes. But then in the fall, after the staff has had a good summer of looking over the initiatives, planning out how they are going to be implementing them, we're going to have another parish meeting where we're going to go through the full report, present all of the initiatives, break out into small groups to discuss and to gather more feedback as to how we can do this and carry them out into this upcoming fiscal year. All right, so with that, we had about 15 initiatives. The first one is the newcomer and new member ministry team. Really, this is focused on the newcomers and people who have just joined our congregation, making sure that they become engaged and are aware of all the opportunities that they have for building a community here at FUS. We feel that this will help significantly with some people who, as you come in, I know this is how I was, it would have helped to be dragged in a little bit more than I was, rather than standing out in the corner and making sure I didn't talk to people because I was a little bit shy. So hopefully this will just sort of help build up our new member retention and increase overall numbers. We're also looking at Service to FUS learning event. This is about our weekend services, actually creating a couple of kiosks of the different jobs that are available for volunteers at each of our services, have people go through a couple of rounds of training that they are interested in, and then hopefully at the end of that program, getting people to sign up for more volunteer opportunities during services. Friends and family service, we felt that this would be a really nice opportunity, which we've done in the past, but also just sort of boosted up a bit, of creating a service purely dedicated at bringing in our close friends and our family members who we think would enjoy joining our community. So as we've done in the past, it would just be a service that's really sort of dedicated to knowing that people who are not typically attending are there and are thinking about joining. CRE Parent Connections. I have a couple of children in CRE. That's why I'm actually here, because you're asked to volunteer if you have your children in CRE. But there are also some opportunities for us parents to better interact within around our classes. We don't have too many opportunities to get to know each other. It's sort of like passing ships as we drop our kids off or pick them up after class. So we're looking at expanding opportunities. Just do some really simple things, similar to like just having coffee in the room for parents just to interact while their children are there, and some other ideas. Really focused on increasing engagement amongst us parents that have children in that. Another idea was the after-service play group. There is actually a group that's sort of an ad hoc, starting after 11 o'clock Mass. They hang out at the playground afterward. Service. So, I'm Catholic, all right? I was brought up Catholic. My family was entrenched in the Catholic Church, so I'll revert to those by accident. Yes, I'm working. I'm still recovering. So after service play group, we're looking at expanding that to also after the 9 a.m. service, of just simply maybe rolling out some coffee out there and encouraging people to stick around and just mingle. Again, a lot of things that we were talking about for the last 9 months is how do we increase engagement? How do we get people better connected who are already here? It wasn't about putting up billboards and trying to bring people in so much, but as how do we better our community for ourselves? Because as we did this sort of a data mining project, we found that a lot of people drop off after about 1 to 3 years of being here. And so we believe, it's a hypothesis, that we increase engagement, people will end up staying. Looking at the 20s and 30s group, this is a great group. To many of us, it's kind of quiet. It is there. We're looking to elevate their presence, the knowledge among 20 and 30-year-olds who are interested in the group of becoming involved, trying to get members of that group to volunteer a bit more and become more engaged within the community, maybe in some leadership positions as well, and really try to bolster that up, because we think that could be a significant strength for growing our congregation, keeping us relevant, and actually helping to move us into the future by starting early and getting people involved. Kind of along with that, social media education. 20s and 30s typically know how to use Twitter and Facebook and all that. The rest of us sometimes don't. So we were thinking it'd be really interesting to have basically an RE sort of class around social media, how to use it, and hopefully then, if we are better at using social media ourselves, we will also disseminate some more information about FUS through those social medias, but that wouldn't be the exclusive purpose. Really all about teaching us how to use our smartphones and other things that are out there. Improve the FUS wiki presence. So we noticed that our wiki presence is okay, it's not awesome, and we want to just improve it. We want to make sure that we have a link from the UU into FUS. We also want to make sure that the 2 pages that are up there, I believe right now, one is really dedicated to our facilities, one to our actual congregation, that those mesh together and that actually they tell a nice story. Improve wayfinding and on-site communication. That's really once people come to our campus, where do they go? We're worried that if a visitor comes, that they might not know which area to come to if they're coming for service. It also involves something as simple as our sign over on University Bay Drive doesn't actually say we are a faith community. It doesn't actually say when our services are. So it's a simple kind of change that could have a nice impact. Reflection discussions. This is really focused on after service, mass if you want to say it, but service. Basically having some talking points or discussion points around the sermon. And the idea there is many of us will be talking in the main common area as we're holding our coffee, finding people we want to talk to, but for those people who just would rather join a group that is going to discuss some specifics after the service, we thought this would be a nice opportunity to try out. Very informal, come together, stand around for 10, 15, 20 minutes and just have a conversation. And we'll just see how that goes. The FUS elevator pitch. So this sort of has 2 components. One is helping us individually figure out and think about what does FUS mean to us. Many of us know, but then when it comes to communicating that with our friends and family, we sometimes start to stumble and we don't know quite what to say. So it would really be sort of a program developed on why is FUS important to us individually, and then helping us communicate that in a very short 45-second to a minute elevator pitch. We're also thinking about then recording some of these on video, making them available on the web for those who would be okay with that. But then also putting it into a book, because it could be really interesting, because I'm sure all of us have different reasons as to what FUS means to us and why we're here. So it would just be very interesting, just a thing from the community to hear why people like coming here. Improved parking experience. So everyone can agree, probably. We have a smaller than we would like parking lot. There are a lot of available spots, but we really had 2 thoughts of this. One is improving the experience of finding a parking spot and getting onto campus for people that park away, letting people know where those spots are, and then also maybe opening up some more spots up over here for visitors, because we don't know, but anecdotally we're wondering if some people do try to come in, they see the lot full and they might leave. It's just a thought, we don't know. But regardless, we can definitely improve how parking is and at least our perception of parking. UU education for existing members, this was quite simple. This is new UU, just kind of rebranded as UU 101, encouraging those of us who, it's been 15 years since we've gone through it, to go back through and refresh our understanding of what our principles are and what FUS is about. And then the last is the FUS Outreach Toolkit. So this we already have. Jean puts this together, I believe. But really to let everyone know that if you're going out into the community to some event that you think would be beneficial to let people know about FUS, we have a ready-made thing to pick up and you can go with. It has brochures, some signage in it, I believe, that's ready-made for that type of a thing. So we're really looking at just maybe increasing the amount of information that is there, the number of bags or totes or what have you is available, and letting you all know that we have that. And that was it. So the Growth Task Force members, one thing, it was just a great group. This was a huge group effort. We met every month, sometimes more than once a month. Sometimes the meetings were 3 hours long. They kind of got a little bit, you know, we just had a lot of work to do, and I just want to thank all of them. And if you could stand up, because I know most of you are here. Mary Savage, could you please? March, I see you right there. Carol is next to Mary. Jean, you're hiding over there. Julia's here. I saw Julie Swanson. You can stand up. Julie was with us for the first half of the year and then joined another group that was all-consuming, but you participated. Myself, Alyssa, congratulations on the new baby. Just about last 6 weeks. So Alyssa went to the bitter end. I mean, we didn't even know if she'd show up for meetings, and she was there. It was amazing. That kid probably knows more about growth than many of us. Also, Michael and Monica were part of the group, and Julie as well. So we all came together, and really, again, it was a great team effort. So I just want to say thank you to you all. It was a pleasure being involved, and I'm going to stay on the task force for next year. They'll hand over the reins to Mary Savage, who has nicely agreed to be the chair. And we're also looking for more members. So if you're interested in joining up, if you could email us at growthtaskforce@gmail.com. That will come to both Mary and myself. We're going to probably have a couple members that are going to leave the group, and so we're going to have to replenish. So if you're interested, we'd love it if you'd get involved. And otherwise, wait until, I believe, September or so, we'll have our parish meeting, and we'll get more in depth, and we'll just involve everyone and just start really kicking off these initiatives. Some of which you've seen. Before and after service, we have the announcements up. That was one of the ideas from the group. So we're starting to implement as much as we can. So thank you very much.
I'm really glad that he's shy, you know. I think, Joe, you guys did a great job, and so I really appreciate that. Next up is Kelly Crocker, who has an interesting question for you all to consider.
Hey everybody, Jean is going to be my Vanna White. If she knew that, she might have blinged it up a little bit, but if you don't know Jean is our coordinator of member programs, and she's a great person to know. So if you don't know her, stop and say hi. Our question is about our member directory. So before we just started working on the next one, we wanted to pause for a minute and ask you about it, because it takes a lot of time and labor and material cost to put one of these books together. And we want to know how useful it is in your life and in your connection to community. A little background, the last time we did this in 2014, we copied 200 of them, and we just gave away the last one a couple of weeks ago. So 2 years ago, we made 200 of them, so they are in 200 homes out of the 800 or so homes that we have in the congregation. So before we just charged forward, we wanted to say, really, do you use this? We are also moving to a new database, hopefully in the next few months. The online member system of that database is going to be much easier to use than the system we have now. So you would look up someone, their contact information is there, their photo is there if we have their photo, and you can see everything right there online. So our questions, for a show of hands: how many of you currently use a paper directory? The ones that are here, exactly. Now we know where those 200 went the last time. How many of you use the online directory? Okay. And how many of you like when a directory has photos? Wow. All right. Okay. So next time, Jean, let's do it again, and we'll run 52 copies, and we'll give them to these people. Look at her writing it down. All right, if you feel strongly about a directory one way or the other, please talk to Jean or talk to me. Yeah, Susan.
May I just ask the question, if we had a really good online directory, would it be possible for those who want a physical copy to print it at home at their own cost? Or at,
Yes. So the question is, when we switch to this really good online directory that's part of the system that Monica and Tracy found and we're all excited about it, can you, if you want a paper copy, print one out for yourself or go to Kinko's and print one out? And the answer is yes, you can do that.
So if it came in a, like a file format that was online, you could click on that, send it to Kinko's, call Kinko's and say, I just sent you something, and they would bind it for us and charge us for it.
We think so, yes.
That's what they did with my script for my assignments.
All right, so how many of you would be, now that we know that you are our directory users right here in this room, we should quick get my phone, I should take their picture. If you had a very easy to use online directory that had the ability for you to print or do as Susan said, send it to Kinko's, they would bind it for you. How many of you would do that if you really wanted a paper copy? Okay. Yeah, Gail.
What percentage of our membership does not have an email address?
How many of you in here do not have an email address or access to a computer? Okay. Right, Kathy's pointing out that when we use the online directory, it's always up to date. So, when we look at our one from 2014, there are quite a few, people who canceled landlines and now they use their cell phone. Well, they forgot to tell us, and so the only number in there is their landline that doesn't exist anymore. Tony? Thanks, Steve. No, Steve's coming to you. Look, Tony, microphone. Turn.
Hello. My question is, I noticed that there were a lot of people, a strong majority, who liked the fact that the paper copy of the directory had pictures in it. So I'm thinking there will probably be digital photos also in the online one that
Yes.
are also printable?
And also printable, exactly.
Okay, thank you.
Dorit?
Based on my experience with volunteering with quite elderly folks, I would hope that as we transition, and it sounds like we might be transitioning to online, that we would still produce, run it off ourselves or email it to Kinko, and have paper copies available for those people who aren't online.
Right, that is a good, and I think that is something that we could do, just like you could do it at home. If folks call us up and say, I really miss the directory, or Michael's going to Oakwood next month, can you bring 10 copies of it to Oakwood with him? That we could also send that to Kinko's and have it done, and Michael can drop those off. So that would be something that we could do as well, and not have to do a run of 200 of them at once.
Hi, regarding the on-demand printing of the directory, I don't know what the budget is for printing the directory, but I can tell you that having something that's a 52-page document with photographs printed at Kinko's is not a small investment.
Right.
And so to have the FUS rely on that backup exclusively, I think you'll be surprised at how quickly you burn through your budget.
Right, and
So
and
I'd
we
suggest printing some
Right.
in bulk.
and we have like the last one that Jean can show you in 2014, we printed in-house with the photos on our machine. The photos are not crisp and clear and great by any stretch of the imagination. Sometimes the eyes are in the wrong place, but we can print some in-house as well.
Oh, I had a
Hey, there you are.
I'm Elizabeth Barrett. Now, I wonder if anybody else does this with our old photo directories, just that I have kept them all, and I'll look at the families. You know, you see these little babies, and then they grow up, and then, oh my gosh, it is really cool to do that. I don't know, oh good, I'm not the only one who does that.
I can tell you staff do that a lot. We go back to the ones in the 90s and we go, oh my gosh, look at that.
This is a question about the online directory. Would individuals have the ability to change their own data on it?
Yep.
Because that would be really helpful if you change your cell phone or address. If
You can also
change
upload a new photo.
Oh,
if
that
you
would
don't
be
like
nice.
the photo that we have, or you've changed your hair color and now it's green and you want us all to know that. I'm tempted to go green, actually. You can upload, you can change your information, you can upload a more recent photo. Yeah, Jean says there's also going to be security settings that you can pick about who can see what. Probably, but now it's Shelby, so I don't use the... Oh, right, yes, it is very secure now as well, yeah.
Yeah, I had two comments. First of all, it was my understanding several years ago an experiment was made with a commercial church directory publisher. I was wondering how that worked out and if there's any reason why that couldn't be done again. Then also I'd like to concur with that other suggestion that old directories, I think they all should be put on for historical information and interest, should all be put online. Thanks.
Yeah, so the first question, when we did it the last time, it was Olin Mills. Olin Mills is now owned by Life Touch. If you've had kids go through school recently, you may know of Life Touch. They do lots of school photos and yearbooks and things. And so the only trick with that is that you all have to come in and have your photo taken. So that is the hardest part. It doesn't cost the church anything. They'll give us like 200 and so copies of it for free. The hardest part is on Jean's part, making sure the information is correct and that they've got it, you know, they actually have your name with your address and your photo. But we need everybody to actually come in and meet with the Life Touch people and get their photo taken. And our success rate at that is pretty small. Yeah, Dorrit.
I just would like to answer a question that you haven't asked, which is, if I could get into an online directory, which I can't right now, easily, I would not print out a paper directory for myself at all.
Right, and if you really wanted one, you would be able to call up Jean and say, print me one. It's not going to be the gorgeous Kinko's beautiful colored photos. It's going to be on the risograph, and so people will look a little blurry, but we could do that for you if you wanted. Jim?
Could you put it up as a PDF, so if somebody wanted a copy on their own computer, they could just download the PDF? Well, I would think people would need to consent whether they're going to be in the I mean, if it's no, but I mean, just you could get one way to get it, so somebody would have it locally. They may not want to print it out, but they would have it locally on PDF. Because I know some organizations.
I'll say definitely, maybe.
Yeah. It's definite enough. Happy birthday, by the way.
Definitely, oh, thank you. Definitely, maybe we can do that.
I can't reach very far.
The one thing I would be curious about, if it's online, currently the way I think it works, you select an individual and you go into each one. Whereas with the paper directory, you can browse. That would be my only concern if we were only online. Is there an ability to browse? Because often I'm trying to connect a name to a face rather than the other way around.
Sure. I have no idea. I'm not even going to pretend that I know. I'm just going to say I have no idea.
And there's no facial recognition on our church software, so.
Does he do that often, Mary? It was like, oh.
So we're talking a lot. I'm going to be frivolous now. Jim mentioned that it's your birthday today. So I think we should sing happy birthday to you.
Wait, but where did he go? Jim O'Brien was here as well. It's his birthday. He's got exactly 40 years on me, so I don't know where he went, but it's his birthday today as well.
So somebody start it.
Thank you. Thank you. Was there any more directory questions, or are we good? You think we're good? All right, thank you. And if you do feel strongly you have more questions, you have an idea, you can talk to myself or talk to Jean.
Happy birthday, Kelly. Thank you very much. The next thing we have to do is to vote on our board nominees and our foundation nominees. I have some pictures. Oh, that went really too fast. There we go. So March has agreed to serve another term, for which we are very grateful. March, you want to stand up? I mean, your picture's up there, but we might as well have you stand up. Dorrit has agreed to also run for us. And I think both of them will be great members of the board. We are also nominating a president-elect. Mr. Shy has agreed to do that. And yeah. So take the you. It's not a job requirement. If he doesn't run fast enough, he gets to be president-elect. Let's see, is that all? Okay, so I would have welcome a motion to approve these folks for the board. Do I have somebody? We have too many people, so that was Steve Goldberg, and then Tom Garver is seconded. Do we have any discussion? Anybody who'd like to abstain? And what?
In terms of discussion, I'm Betsy Hauser, I'm the chair of the nominations committee, and I would really like to acknowledge the work that the nominations committee did in recruiting Dora, because we knew we had March. So.
Yeah, thank you for Betsy and for the nominating committee. It's one of the things I did not realize was going to fall to me after I am past president. And if I'd realized that, I might have said, no, I don't know. But when you see me in about 2 years heading in your direction, I would recommend that you run fast. So, no abstentions, anybody opposed? And that means we are all in favor. I want to welcome the new member and members. The board get a 3-year term, and then the president-elect spends a year as president-elect, then 2 years as president, and then 1 year as past president and chair of the nominations committee. Or 2 years? Betsy's telling me 2 years. See, I'm learning something new maybe I should go to a new UU or whatever it is. The bylaws, you know, I have to say that when I started with the board, I read the Hotchkiss book and I was sort of going, you know, it was actually readable. And then I looked at our bylaws and our policy, and the people who crafted that, I give them an enormous amount of credit, because when we run into questions on the board, we think, well, is this something that we're supposed to do, or the staff is supposed to do, or who is supposed to do this? We can go to those, and it really is really clear. All right. Now we come to the nomination for the foundation. Those of you who are, I'm sure you're all aware that a foundation is our financial institution. It is somewhat separate from the actual congregation. They help us with our investments and help us pay for a lot of stuff. Connie Beam is the chair. We have a number of nominees. We have Kathy Luker. Pushing the button. Dennis Berkey and Peter Marion. I would like to have a motion to approve these folks. Do I have a, okay, Mike back there, Mike Lenow has moved. Do I have a second? Who said the second? Fran Bicknell. Any discussion? No discussion. Anybody like to abstain? Anybody opposed? And therefore the motion carries. Thank you all very much. Now we come to the proposed budget. I'm sure a lot of you were here a few weeks ago when we had the budget forum where we really got to dig into the contents of the budget. The Finance Committee spent a lot of time and energy, and I really appreciate the work of Matthew and the whole Finance Committee on this. The board has reviewed this. Staff has reviewed this. I think this is a pretty reasonable hope that we can do this budget. We can have a little bit of discussion, but I think we've already had our discussion, serious discussion, back on the May 5th forum. So why don't we start off with anybody with a specific question that they'd like to ask briefly? We'll have a motion. We can do it either way. I was going to do the motion first, but I thought I'd give a chance for questions first. Okay, so now I will take a motion. Anybody like to move? That was Dave Weber. Anybody like to second? Second. Lorna Aronson down here. Any more discussion? Yes, Jim. Monica can answer that question.
It's a more conservative projection. Yeah, so it does take into account that we're not striving quite as high as we have in years past.
Okay. Any other questions? Is there anyone that would like to abstain? Anybody opposed? Hallelujah. I get to say that in a church, so thank you all very much. Oh, an important thing. So some of you know that we have a radio station, and you can actually pick it up down around the square, probably out this far. It has programming, sermons, it has different kinds of talks, different kinds of pieces of information out there. We share some of the programming with, who is that person? James Reed. So, it's, at any rate, the radio station's out there. I would urge you to try it out sometime. I know Mary has listened to it back and forth between MATC and just about here. So, yes, Michael.
I would just note that the range of the radio station varies. I was talking to Hathaway earlier on, who lives all the way out in Middleton Glen. And since she's kind of up on one of the upper stories, it comes in loud and clear all the way over into Middleton. So, you know, it can be kind of iffy in and out, but it's kind of radius from the central tower at the top of State Street, about 4 miles in either direction.
So, it's pretty cool. At any rate, just wanted to make sure that you were aware of that. Yes, Michael.
I have a question because I didn't realize we were going on both the capital and the operating budget. And the operating budget was the only one up there.
Did we didn't vote on that. I apologize. I didn't look at the.
There you go. I would move approval of the capital budget, and then I have a question.
Okay. So Michael moved and Dave Weber seconded, and you have a question.
The question is, with a net of $100 and some thousand that we don't plan on spending, and given the fact that the preservation committee has sort of been in hiatus for several years, is there a plan on the part of the board to resurrect some of the needed work on the unions?
I think we have intentions to roll those discussions into exploration of the capital campaign. So those will begin this summer and continue for the next 6 months to a year. So yes, we're very excited about exploring the prospect of those renovations.
And Michael's got a comment too.
And one other thing, we are going to be engaged in conversation with the EBU Foundation, which may be open to some significant funding on restoration of the crop. And that was one of the priorities, I believe, that the Preservation Committee had. So it may be possible that there will be outside money that will become available to them to do that work even perhaps before without a capital campaign. So we're keeping our fingers crossed with that. And at the end, we want to look favorably on helping restore this iconic, fort for the Union House.
Thank you, Michael.
I would volunteer to participate in those discussions.
We expect you to.
I'm glad that you volunteered. I was not going to lend you my Nancy Reagan card. Just say no. Yes.
I'm confused as to what the mortgage refers to here versus the mortgage on the operating budget. If you could just kind of explain that.
Sure, so for the last...
Use the mic. Use the mic right up here or over there.
Done. So for the last couple of years, we have moved money from the capital fund over to the operating fund to help balance the budget. So $45K is what we contributed last year. We're recommending that happen again this year, and we'll definitely look at options to minimize that amount in future years. It's steadily decreased over the years.
Yeah, if folks remember, most of it came out of the capital campaign for the first few years. So, other discussion? Oh, thank you. Gail, you're back where I can't see you in the dark.
I guess I missed something. I didn't know we were doing another capital campaign.
There's been a discussion of a capital campaign since I've been on the board, and I think that we are approaching that point where we're going to need to do that. We have some significant building needs, such as repair of the prow, repair of the roof, some other items that need to be repaired. And then there are other things that we might choose to look at, and that's one of the things that the focus groups that Michael's mentioned earlier will be looking at. What do we want to spend our money on? What do we have to spend our money on? And what's going to motivate us to really do as well as we can for the capital campaign. So we've been thinking about it for a long time. We just at the point where we're going to really need to start moving forward on it.
That being said, Rob, the decision to hold a capital campaign has to be made by the parish. So at the point at which the board is ready to roll something out like that, it has to be brought back to the parish for approval, and only then can we move forward with actually soliciting our members for the funds that are required.
Right. Okay, anything else? Then anybody like to abstain on what I forgot to bring up earlier, the capital campaign, funding? No abstentions. Anybody like to oppose? All right, then it carries, and I thank you all. Did I get it all done here? Let's see. Did I go that way? Oh, did you sign in? If you haven't signed in, your car will be booted, and you will not be allowed to leave the parking lot until you have signed in, because we need to count everybody that's here. So, and I think that's the end of our meeting. So, whoop, 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 no. What? Oh, it was my motion too, the bylaws. I got confused by that. Oh, so, the bylaws. Our bylaws state that our committees, our three standing committees, finance, personnel, and governance, have a minimum and maximum size. Well, the problem that we have with that is that in some of these committees, there is a board person, there's a staff person or two staff people, and that leaves a fairly limited number of spaces for people in the congregation. And I think that the committees are a great place for leadership development. And I personally think that we need to have a little bit bigger committee. Currently, the upper limit is 5, if I remember correctly, and we're proposing that it be moved up to 7. And that way we can add a few more people if we choose to. I personally have several people that were considered for board positions who, in the end, weren't at the right time for them, but they'd like to move into a committee. So the motion would be that we, and I will ask somebody to actually make this, but that we increase the size of those committees to a maximum of 7 people. It's 5. Gail Bliss moves. Anybody like to second? Dorrit is going to second. Thank you, Dorrit. Any discussion? Oh, yes, sir.
Yeah, what's the current minimum? Because you mentioned the problem of, so there's, by definition, you could end up with committees that have nobody outside of the board and staff on those committees to help lead that.
The committees that we have right now, the smallest one is governance, and it's 4 people. It's me, Michael, Elizabeth, and Skylar. So I think having moving the lower limit, I don't feel as much need to do. I mean, if somebody really wants to make it a bigger one, that's fine. But I think as long as we have the opportunity to be bigger.
What's your question? Is there a lower limit?
Yeah, my question was there a lower limit? And more importantly, have we thought about needing to basically kind of force to make sure that somebody outside of the board is on that committee to help bring the diversity that I think the intention was of the committee?
Yes, Elizabeth.
I think that the minimum should be moved to 4. Now, how do I do that? I can't do it now, right? Because first we need to vote on the original motion.
You can have a friendly amendment.
Make an amendment. I'd like to make an amendment, but the minimum for the personnel, governance, and what's the other one? Finance? Be 4 people.
Okay. Do we have a second on that? Okay. Your name again? Damian Christensen. Thank you. Yes?
Just a question, Rob. In those 4 committees, are there often votes taken of importance that we would be concerned about an even number? Monica's nodding. I'm just curious. It's a curious question. It's not a big deal, but
in general, we don't have votes. At least so far in the committee that I've been on, we've worked more or less by consensus. Sure. And I think that if we were having problems with that big of a discrepancy, then we would probably throw it over at the board and let them figure it out. But that's a good question. Thank you. So, with the friendly amendment that we increased the lower limit to 4 and the upper limit to 7, Further discussion? Abstain? Opposed? It passes. Thank you very much. And thank you, Michael, for reminding me what was on my own agenda. So, questions and feedback?
I would like to see, and I'm proposing, that all the leaders of the community that we have just voted in become worship associates so that people know who they are. They can stand up there, they can say that they're worship associates and then do the announcements. So that's some feedback.
Yes, and one of the things that we remind our board members, Dora probably didn't know this, but I don't think she's going to be afraid of it. We try to sign up for the duties up at the greeting. I know that Maureen was the sound person here today. Take a turn up front, and believe me, I've taken my turn, and you know, sometimes once I forgot to light the chalice, which Michael had to boost me along, and you know, but it's okay, you know, we're all friends. And it really is important. And for any of the rest of you who are not on the board or one of the committees, it would be really great if you would help us function by signing up. You don't have to sing like some of our members do. You don't even have to remember what the number of days before or after the cabaret is. But you get up there, you show your face, and you make the announcements. Yeah. For some, we can train you. I mean, if they can train me, they can train anybody, really. Anybody else? Dorrit.
I just want to make the statement, as long as we're here, that ushers do not count money. So all they do is sort it. So if you've been holding back from signing up to usher for that reason, sign up.
Okay, and Laura, on your way back.
Speaking of cabaret, do we have a bottom line number at this point?
This is rough, but it's a rough estimate, I should say. It's just over, Matthew stopped breathing for a second. It's just over 38,000, that's the gross, which is great. I think it's one of the top, maybe the second best in the last 10 years. And net was somewhere around 33K. So it's wonderful. And I think everyone would agree. It's a great fellowship building opportunity. I think it felt really good in addition to the financials. So, yeah.
If I could give just a word of perspective, I was one of the people that coordinated cabaret, I think in about 1987. And we thought we were really hot stuff when we broke $2,000.
This is Elizabeth Barrett again. I just want to bring up two things. One is greeting is a lot of fun. If you haven't greeted, it is so fun. As people come in, you'll be amazed at how many people you know. And you know, I'll be up there. Oh, hi, Carol. Hi, Hathaway. Oh, March is here. You know, it's just like old home week. Anytime you greet. So I would just say, you know, if you think it's scary, it's not. It's a hoot. And the other thing is, I think it'd be great if we had in our budget in 2017, you know, 2018 or something. It's time to get a new. I think it's time to get a new banner that we take to GA and to Regional Assembly. It's gorgeous. It's absolutely gorgeous. It's our prow. One side's day and the other side's night. And I think that in the last few years, we've realized that we are so much more than our prow. We're the prow plus. And so having only the prow on our banners, not quite right. And I think after we finish this UUSC thing, we'll really have a handle on that. So maybe 2018, 19, let's get on that.
Anyone else? Oh, Michael's going to get up and send us
something non-institutional as we go our ways. We stand at the edge of summer. The sun has at last warmed us enough that we begin to trust in its presence. The last burst of spring blossoms, lavender and white and deep pink banks of rhododendron, are giving way to summer peonies and roses. O source of the turning seasons, of earth, of life, of promise gradually becoming fulfillment, may your people find a lightening of the burdens with the brightening of the day. Go in peace. Amen.